All right. Is everybody paying attention? Are you looking right at me? Look right here. Right here. Focus. Come on now. Pay attention. No, don't look at the girl next to me just yet. Look at me. I'm the host. I'm trying to get things going here. All right. Listen, I need you to do something for me. I need you to put the cat out and let the dog in. Why? Well, cats don't seem to like these interviews very well, and dogs love them. Then I want you to grab a couple of adult beverages, dim the lights, pull the drapes, and get back into your favorite chair. Because if you thought this was the podcast where my wife beats me up for an hour, no. That's on Thursdays. No, these are interviews. These are the ones that I like doing. These are the ones that I enjoy doing. These are the ones you guys ask me about when you go, what's next? What's next? Well, I'm working on them. I'm trying to get it done. And today we have a very unique situation. And by unique, I mean, by unique, I'm trying to tell you, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm confused. I've done some homework. I've done some looking around, and I'm still confused. Yes, your trained broadcast professional is at a loss. But today, we have Kolleen Hancock with us, and by her own admission, she's noticed for a lot of things. One of them is terrible speaker, I just found out. I didn't know that till just a few minutes ago, so we'll get to that maybe later. Terrible speaker is in her accolades. If you look up her Wikipedia page, terrible speaker is right near the top. It's true. It's a true story. Or true, it's a story. Kolleen, you got to tell me, you're part of Responders, Inc., which is is a parent company over Last Responders, right?
Correct.
Okay, not first responders.
Correct.
Okay, so I could do homework all day long on first responders, and I think the general public has an idea on first responders and what that means. But I'm lost on last responders. So please, you're welcome to the show, and please give us a little bit of an education on what this exactly means.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I appreciate it. So a last responder, ironically, is a first responder, but we're actually not acknowledged as first responders in a lot of states, which is part of the reason why this organization was created. So I am a deputy coroner for a county here in Colorado, which is not affiliated with last responders, so I'd rather leave that part out. But
okay. Hold on, I got to start drinking because you just said last responders are really first responders. That just threw my whole psyche out the window. Then why don't we call you first responders that just show up late?
I wish you would. I wish everybody would. I really do. And that's part of my mission is to make sure that happens. Because so when a death occurs, okay, Mark, so when a death occurs that is not natural, even if it's natural, in some cases, we will have to respond as the coroner to just make sure that it's a natural, just kind of verify. So if it's someone who dies of old age in their home and say they were 85 years old, they have all kinds of illnesses and, you know, life expectancy is out, right?
Okay.
We show up and have to do just a basic investigation to make sure that was natural. But what people don't understand is that any unnatural death, right? So statute will dictate whether it's violent, all the things.
Okay.
And we have to go out to the scene. We do a scene investigation. Not only do we do our own scene investigation, we then have to bring the body back and do an autopsy on it. So our job within the first responders area of it is much more detailed. First responders, they respond when the adrenaline's going and all of that. Right.
Yeah.
We respond after the fact when they realize the person's dead. The person's not coming back.
Okay. Well, hold on. Pause right here for 1 second. So, because a couple questions came up, and if they came up with me, they're going to come up with the audience too.
Yeah.
If you say, it kind of sounds like when you show up for, and you kept using the word investigation. Mm-hmm. And you use the word coroner. Now, I understand when you said you got to do an autopsy, got to take the body back, do the autopsy. All right, I totally get that. I have seen a bunch of television, a bunch of movies. I get how that part works. But what I don't understand is that if it's an unnatural death, and I'm assuming we're talking about if someone gets shot or something along that line.
Overdose breathing.
Okay, well, it almost sounds like you're doing the job of a homicide detective, wouldn't there?
Right.
I thought it would go first responders, homicide detective, coroner. That's in my brain. That's where I go. Tell me what I'm missing here.
So you're right. The homicide detectives do come out if it's a homicide case, but the problem is people don't understand that we're parallel to them. They are not even allowed to touch the body. The body's my evidence, right? So when we go onto a crime scene, whether it's an overdose or a homicide, that body is not to be touched by anyone else. That is the coroner's evidence.
Really?
And so you'll hear cops say, "Oh, I reached in their pocket and pulled out their ID." That's bullshit. They didn't, because they can't. Legally, they can't. And I'm not disrespecting them by any means.
No, but if you walked up and someone said that, your face would be like, "You did what? Excuse me?"
Yeah.
You did
There's
what?
actually someone out there. There's a comedian out there that does a skit and he says that. And I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't do that because you're not legally allowed to do that. Like, that's my evidence. And so there is this huge misconception. And I think that's the problem, right? Because there's this huge misconception that the cops do the death investigation. Yeah, they're part of it. They're part of the criminal investigation. They're part of the who did it and why.
Well, yeah, but don't they got to poke around like you're saying you do to get that information? I mean, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like, the detective comes around. It's like, because all the cops in the movies, all the cops always say, "Detective, I didn't touch anything till you arrived. I was waiting for homicide to get here." Now that the
detective
big boys
should
are
be
here,
saying, "Well, I didn't touch anything till the coroner got here." So, like, that's what if it was reality TV, that's the way.
I'm just saying the writers don't write it that way. So when I watch these shows, I'm getting educated in the wrong way.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And that's how this whole thing was born, was because when I started doing this job, I grew up the daughter of a New York City cop. And, when I started doing this job, I even had to explain to him what my position was. I mean, he knew what I did, but the title, at least, that there's too many variations in title throughout the country. And it depends not even just on state, it's jurisdiction. Like I'm in Colorado, and Colorado is a dual state, right? So that means we have medical examiners and coroners. And so every office, every area has a different title. And that's a problem because we end up in these positions where we can't get the same protections as first responders get. Like they don't recognize us as first responders. And I get that because we're not the first responder. We're the last first responder, if you want to call it that.
What protections are you talking about? What am I missing there?
Well, so I will say just a few months back, there was an incident in Washington State, and there was a fatality traffic accident.
Okay.
And so there was my equivalent, a deputy coroner, a cop, and whoever else, a firefighter, whoever else on the scene. A drunk driver came through that scene and hit the person who was me, right? So he hit the deputy coroner. Thank God she lived, but she broke her femur and broke a bunch of bones and was in the hospital for a long time. And unfortunately, had the cop that was standing 3 feet away from her, let's say it was a fatality and she died, right? Had it been the cop that was standing 3 feet away, it would have been a full-blown, funeral, their kids paid, college would have been paid for. No, if she would have died, thank God she didn't, it would have been, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And that would be it.
Wow.
And
I don't get that. Why aren't all you guys on the same team in that aspect too? I don't get that. That makes no sense to me.
I don't either. And that's why we're here, Mark, because that is literally like, I am fighting a mountain right now. Like there are some states, and I tried to do the research a couple weeks ago to find out how many states cover us as first responders. Yeah. I can't find solid data because of the terminology being so different in every state, but roughly 4 states cover us as first responders. So thankfully, in where I am, we were able to fight and get the law changed. So as far as our retirement goes, we were able to get classified as state troopers. They allowed us to be covered as state troopers, and that helped our retirement. But it doesn't help all the other agencies. You know, this should be universal.
But to be fair, and I'm speaking from a complete point of ignorance, let's be clear on that, okay? If you went to argue at a bar, you know, not in a court of law, but if you were going to sit down with someone at a dinner table and you were going to say, well, we would like the same protections, we would like the same advantages, we would like the same allowances as first responders, someone could say, well, you're not a first responder. You're getting there last. All the danger's over. Everybody's done. The guns are all put away. The cops have arrested everybody. The danger's over. It's just a dead body and a couple of people. There's no risk. There's very little risk. What are you talking about?
Because nobody thinks about the risk of the fentanyl that was sitting there that's in powder form, that when I turn my head too quick and make it go in the air, you know, or when I reach in the guy's pocket and he's got a needle in his pocket, or when we bring him back for autopsy and we cut him open and he's got these diseases that are still airborne. And those are just the biological. I have had, let me tell you, I've had guns pulled on me. I have been almost attacked on scene because of notifications. We also do, in the majority of jurisdictions, the coroner does the notifications of death. I can't tell you how many times I've knocked on a door and had a gun pulled on me. Thank God we do have to respond with police because in most of the areas, including mine, we're not armed. So we have to have an officer.
Why do you have to go and tell anybody anything? Why, because, you know, write it down. Here's a piece of paper, hand to the sergeant and go, all right, run over there and tell that lady. I mean, I don't understand why they would make you guys do that at all.
Nobody wants to do it. So let's push it off on the people who get nothing anyway.
Wow. I would not be in favor. Wow.
I can't tell you how many doors I've knocked on, Mark. I mean, how many parents I've had to tell their kids aren't coming home, how many fathers I watched urinate on themselves when I tell them, like the screams, the cries, like it's unbelievable. And so, yes, I get the first responders. I will never battle them because I will never take from them what they do, and they deserve every protection they get. So please don't get me wrong in that sense.
No, yeah.
You know, I just feel that our industry and the things that I have seen and done, and I have seen what it's done to my own life. And, you know, it's awful. It's terrible. We don't have, you know, we'll have big scenes where they'll have debriefs at the, sheriff or police station, wherever it is. They don't even invite us. And it's like, so you walked in, you opened the door and said, oh yeah, that family's murdered. And then you closed the door and walked away. But we had to go in and we had to be knee deep in it. And then we also had to bring them back and we had to do the autopsy and we had to notify their relatives and we had to do all these things.
And I bet somebody's breathing down your neck going, hurry up and get me all the stuff from your report. I need everything you got on what you guys just did. They don't want to help you, but they want you to hurry up.
For sure. For sure. We get that all the time. And then that's another thing. We have 8 to 12 weeks is the typical autopsy turnaround, autopsy report turnaround, not autopsy. Okay. You know, we do the autopsy immediately. And people say, well, why can't you tell us what the results are? Yeah. Because we have to do a full investigation. You know, we can't just go off what we see. It's everything. Do
you guys send out toxicology stuff or do you do that in-house?
Correct. No, we send it out. There's a lab that does that.
All right, now I'm going to put you on pause here for a second.
Okay.
Let's back up. Let's find out a little bit about you. Where were you born and raised? How was your upbringing with your parents and your school up to high school? Did you enjoy growing up in life? I mean, and then I'm going to try to pin you down on when you wanted to do this kind of job. But let's start back at the beginning when it was still, Fruit Loops and Cheerios and school backpacks.
So, yeah, I grew up in New York City. I grew up in Queens, right? So not, my dad was a cop. He was in Spanish Harlem and Astoria, New York. He retired when I was about 4 on a medical. He was in an accident, was forced to retire, basically. But it was in his blood, and I just loved it. I could listen to his stories day in, day out, and I was daddy's little girl, right? So I did everything. I listened to everything, and I always said, Dad, I'm gonna be a cop. Be a cop. And he said, no, you're not. And so I'll go deep, I guess, but in 96, there was a homicide outside my house in New York, and I watched the entire thing. And after that point, I like I got interested in like what makes people do it. Why do they do it? Like the forensic psychology behind it. And I left New York right after that happened. And I moved to Arizona. I started studying forensic psychology, but I had to put myself through college. My parents couldn't afford to put me through college. And so I got a job with a home builder. And after, gosh, I think I was there not even a year before they asked me to switch my major to business and said, if you switch your major, we'll pay for it. And, we'll pay for your college. We'll give you X amount more a year. Of course, I was 23 years old. Show me the money. I went with that, So I did that for 10 years. So I did land development for 10 years. And then the market in Arizona crashed. And my husband at the time was offered a position in Colorado. We moved up here. I stayed home to have, I had a daughter at the time and decided to stay home and just raise my children because the market had crashed. I couldn't do the land development thing anymore. And then while I was raising them, I was like, okay, well, this is great, but they're going to go to school. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to be bored out of my mind. And I said, well, I don't want to go back into home building or land development. Sure. I want to do what I was actually passionate about. So I went back to school and I got a criminal justice degree. While I was doing that, I was offered an internship with the Denver Medical Examiner. And my mentor at the time said to me, I said, well, I was thinking more crime scene because I don't want to be a cop on the street. I don't want to be out there pulling people over and doing all the actual dangerous things, Sure, I got it. And so I decided, and he was like, yeah, I see, go for the medical examiner. It's always a death, whether it's natural or a homicide. There's always a major event, a death, right? And so I was like, oh yeah, that's so much better than dusting fingerprints on a broken glass because a rock was thrown through it. Right. And so I did the internship and I just fell in love with it. And once I, started there, it was no turning back, I guess.
Well, no, I get that. So you stayed in the area the whole time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I get it. Well, if you got the mentors and the program and the people, you know your way around, the job just seems to fit, you're just stay and keep doing that. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a few different questions. This isn't really a lightning round per se, but you don't have to go super deep if you don't want to. But what is the most, and being a last responder, what is the most difficult part? Like the thing that frustrates you the most, or it may not be frustrating, but you just don't like it, but it is part of the job. What's the hardest part?
Ugh. There's so many hard parts. Well, it's okay. Funny. Yeah, it's funny because so many people are like, oh my God, you're a death investigator for the coroner. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. And I got to a point a couple of years ago where I had gotten a new dentist and she came in to, meet me and she jumped up on the counter and she goes, okay, before we start anything, your job, please tell me, because it is so cool. What's the coolest thing about your job? Is it the coolest thing ever? And I just looked at her for a second. I said, I guess if it depends on if you like holding dead kids. And I was like, yeah. And then that was literally the point that I said, wow, I probably should stop. I should probably really rein it in a little because I'm getting a little too raw with people.
You get a little wound up there for that one.
I was. And, it sucks because that is the hardest part is the kids, it's like, I can do this job all day long. I really could, but there are things that are going to get to you and it doesn't make it impossible to do the job. We just need the right tools and the right protections or, whatever you want to call it to be able to do them, So that is, I think that's the hardest part is people think it's so cool and always want to ask about it. And it's like, I hate the question, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? I'm like, that's a great question for you, but you have no idea what goes through my head when I got to make you
relive it again.
Yeah. But I get the interest.
Do you find it's difficult to, I'm going to use the term coworkers loosely, but do you find it's difficult when there are firemen or policemen still on scene when you come to do your job? Is there anybody that's harder to work with? You're like, just get out of my way? Or is everybody pretty much know the level that you need to be operating at and give you the time and the space for your job?
They absolutely do. They absolutely do. We have a great working relationship, and I hope it's the same with all the jurisdictions across the country. I know that I personally have never had an issue always have the greatest support from them. They understand it more than anybody does, really. I mean, because they have the option to turn away. They don't have to go knee deep in it like I do.
Right.
And they get that. I think more than anybody, they understand it because, I say to people what I'm doing now with the last responder, and they're like, man, how has this not already been a thing? Like you guys deal with it.
I can't believe it already. I'm like, how is it
2026 and we're still fighting?
Those were the words I was going to use. I was just going to say in 2026, how has this not already been a thing and resolved already?
I'll be honest. I think honestly, and I think it's because it's such an ill-defined, if that's the right term. I don't know. Because of the fact that we're labeled different in every jurisdiction. Yeah. It's like, you never know. Are you dealing with a coroner, a medical examiner, a death investigator, a medical investigator, or whatever the 8,500 different titles there are? And so I personally and last responder have been pushing the term medical legal death professionals because medical legal death investigation is what we do. Right. And so we're just trying to get this more like MDP, medical legal death professional. It should be as common as EMS. It should be all inclusive of everybody under it.
Every other industry across the country has become uniform. If you're an electrician, apprenticeman, journeyman, and everybody knows what their job is and everybody knows what everything's called. We've gotten past on the East Coast, they call it this, and on the West Coast, they call it that. They're uniform now. It's the same with automotive. Automotive is coming to line. Guess what? A starter here is a starter over there. An alternator here is an alternator over there. And for a lot of the tech side of automotive, it didn't used to be that way. It's very different between Toyota, Ford, and Honda. Everybody's standardized now. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that doctors are standardized when they're treating people and talking about things with medications and dosages. I don't know why you're not. I don't know why they already haven't done that with yours. It just seems like a natural
death
step.
Death was just invented.
Yeah, well, it's relatively new. It's
relatively. I say it all the time. I'm like, how is it possible that this is 2026? Death is not just a new thing.
No,
that investigation has been happening since the beginning of time.
Well, I'm not going to ask you what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen, but in your investigation, like when you do an autopsy, give me an example of something that was like super complicated. You're like, whoa, what is going on here? You got to have some stories when you're doing an autopsy and something you look at it and go, this makes no sense at all.
Well, we did recently. We had a new drug. The nitazines are the newer drugs that are out there and kind of coming more popular, I guess. They're like the designer drugs. We do find a lot of those, like new drugs. We do find a lot of interesting things during autopsy, but more times than not, believe it or not, it's not really a surprise what the death is. Like, it's more for confirmation than anything. The toxicology does help confirm, like, the oddities that we don't typically see. And I don't even know if that's really the way.
Well, you know what? I kind of opened the door. If you had something online where you're like, there's a dude who got attacked by an alien. Just thought I'd let you know. I mean, I opened up the door. If you had something to say, you could have offered it right then.
I do have a lot of those, but unfortunately, I do try to keep because I don't want to talk too much, I guess, specific on specific cases.
Yeah.
But there are, we do get a lot of odd cases.
You could tell me that. You could say a guy was abducted by aliens, and when we got the body back, it was really weird. I mean, it's okay if you say that. I don't mind.
Oh, I wish.
Have you ever had any popular like politicians or celebrity situations where you were getting hounded from the press on top of your bosses and coworkers?
Yes, all the time.
How does that go over?
It's not fun. It is not fun. I guess I could probably, and maybe this might be one that you won't have to edit.
Yeah, well, you can decide.
Yeah, because so we had one recently. He's a well-known UFO conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And so that led to a lot of media attention.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, it was every hour on the hour, TMZ and everybody under the sun was calling, trying to get everything they could out of our investigators and anybody who would answer the phone. And finally, thankfully, this person's family put out a statement in conjunction with the sheriff's office and said, mental health is a real issue. And, this is not what you guys are saying it is. It was a, XYZ. And we support what the sheriff and the coroner are saying. But we do have so many cases like that where we get, people from all over the world trying to say it was this, it was that, and hounding us. And it's not the greatest.
Well, if you could make some changes, like let's just say you had a stopwatch that stopped time. Physically, everybody froze in place. Cars weren't driving, people weren't walking, birds weren't chirping. And you could go open up the rule book and make 3 changes to it, let's say, to get things kind of where you'd want them to be. Because that's the simplest way for me to get to an answer in helping you or promoting you, is just to pretend you could write down 3 things. And when you close the book and click the stopwatch, everybody goes, oh, that's part of the book. We'll just accept it. What 3 things would you write down?
I think for one, it would be that we are first responders. Even though we call ourselves, or I call ourselves, last responder, we're first responders. We're the 4th leg. So when a death occurs, it is police, fire, EMS, and us that come out. Mm-hmm. That investigation does not end until we come out and do our investigation. So I would love for us to be included as first responders and covered under the same protections.
Sure.
I would love for us to get the same mental health coverages and the same mental health allowances. We have our EAP through the county. Great. But that doesn't do anything. It really doesn't. It's not at the level it should be for what we deal with. I mean, the average first responder, as it's defined in the typical books, sees about 180 to 200 dead bodies in their 20-year career. I see that in 6 months, and that's depending on granted, that's depending on your jurisdiction, right? So if you're in a bigger city, you're going to be in bigger cities, you're going to see even more than that in 6 months. My office last year, we had 300 investigations that we had to do. So that's 300 autopsies, 300 deeper investigations, but that's a smaller for the most part, but we see so much. It's ridiculous. And that's why this was even born, was because, I was doing this job for a year and a half. And after a year and a half of doing this job, I had a plane crash that I worked. And it was a family of 4 and their dog. It was parents, 2 9-year-olds and their dog. And so I went out to the scene, and it was up in the mountains. And so we had to be shuttled up there on quads and stuff to do it. And as I was out there, I, saw it was miles long that we were doing. And there was a sneaker, one of the little girl's sneaker. My daughter, who was 3 years older, had the same exact sneakers. Oh. And I took a photo of that sneaker, and I said to myself, that was the first time that I said, well, this is following me home. This is going to be a thing, And so when I got down where I had service, I texted that photo to my husband at the time. And I said, get these sneakers out of the house. I just don't want to see them when I get home. Not that I couldn't do my job. I still did my job, and I did it good, but I just didn't want to go home and see that reminder of it. You're allowed to move pieces around the board. You are. Right. And, and so that's how it all came about, was because of those things. And then a couple of years in after that, been doing the job for several years now. I ended up having a summer that was child after child and random homicide, which is not common, and all these cases. And then I ended up having a dream that I found my 9-year-old son hanging. And it was the most real dream I've ever had in my life. And unfortunately, I couldn't go to my job the next morning and say, man, getting a little messed up in the head, like I need a break, because we weren't staffed for that. And that was literally the response I knew I would get was, we're not staffed for your problems.
Yeah, like, we didn't hire your problems. We hired you. Leave your problems at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And that's not okay. And so, like, you know, I mean, I know you said 3 things and I said 2 and went off on this tangent.
No, I got it. No, like, I'm with you.
But that's the thing, you know, is like, we should have these things in place that help us. It's not that, like I said, it's not that we can't do the job. We can do the job all day long, but we should have the resources to cope with them. You know, I shouldn't be dreaming of finding my son. And after I had the second dream of it, the exact same dream a second time, a couple of months later, I ended up going out on back surgery. I knew I needed back surgery, and I knew my back was bad and that I qualified to get back surgery. So I went out on back surgery so that I could take a break. And that was my only outlet.
Gives you a reset, but too bad you had to go under the knife to get a reset. You know, that's not everybody has that option. You shouldn't use it anyway. That shouldn't be why you had to go do that. That's really not the point. The point is you needed it, and that was the only way to get it. So, God.
And unfortunately, it's so common. And the more I've been doing this last responder, the more stories I hear like this is like, you know, they're not getting support from the top. And it might not always necessarily be the top's fault either. You know, it's like they're doing the best they can, too. And they don't have the budget or the whatever, you know, that they need. And that's a problem. We should have the budget. We should not, like, I've had coroners come to me and say, do you know that I had to go to the commissioners meeting and turn my cell phone off in front of them and say, from now on, you're taking calls for the deaths over the weekend because you're not going to pay me to be on call over the weekend. So I'm not going to be on call 24/7, and shut their phones off, or whatever the dramatics they have to take to prove a point that we shouldn't have to prove. We should be part of the budget. We shouldn't be the redheaded stepchild, or, you know, for lack of a better term.
I was thinking about what you said about first responders and the protections and the things they're afforded, I guess is the other way to say that. You said cop shows up first, so he's a first responder. If fire shows up second, are they no longer a first responder? No, they would walk in and go, just because we got here second, we're still a first responder. Shut up. And then who gets their third? EMS. EMS gets their third. I'm sorry, you're not a first responder. You didn't get here first. It's like, well, we're first responders. We just got here third. And then when it comes to you, not only did you show up fourth in the line like you're supposed to, right when you're supposed to, but when someone says you're not a first responder, you can't say, yes, I am. I just got here fourth. Like everybody else got here in order. Why all of a sudden did you draw the line at me? I don't get that. I don't understand that at all.
Me either. And like, I'm not the smartest person in the room. And I'll say that every day, all day long. I am not the smartest in the room, but I'm the biggest mouth because I don't understand and I want answers. Like, I just don't get it. Why are we not looked at the same level? Because even those professions believe we should be, for the most part. I've never heard anybody in those professions say, you don't deserve any of these protections.
See, that's kind of why I asked you a little bit ago. I kind of snuck that question in and I said, how do they treat you? Because that was going to be one of my things, and you came right across with equal. They know exactly. They know my job. We get along great with them. We work well. So it isn't like they're holding you back, you know, sneaking around going, come on. They don't really need that. No, they're not doing it.
No,
they're right there with you. Well,
you ask any one of them, and I guarantee they'll say, yeah, the coroner's got a hard ass job. It's just not, we're just not looked at the same level. And I don't understand it. And my only way of rationalizing it, I guess, is to say, I guess it's because we're not defined, right? Like, because there's 85 different definitions. And so that's why, you know, I've started these conversations with the committees and all the people that need to define us as medical legal death professionals and just try to make that a common term.
Too bad you couldn't get the federal government on board. And I wish there was a way for the federal government to say, well, we're going to start doing some funding for everybody in all 50 states, but not till you guys get your terminology worked out. So once you guys all decide what you are and what the ranking and everything is, then you come see us and we'll give you money. And why I'd bring that up, because I'm not for federally funding everything on the planet. I'm not that guy. However, people would get in line pretty quick. They'd start snapping their stuff straight and getting their house in order. If
they did. So the DOJ and the BJA, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, did start a grant a couple of years ago called Strengthening the Coroner and Medical Examiner System. And that's been a great grant for offices, and it helped my office alone. Like, we got accreditation.
It's too bad they couldn't attach something to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go up there. They should just go up there and say, "Hey, we now have a grant for MDIPs." And half the country be like, "Well, what's that?" Well, when you get your office squared away, you'll know. And as soon as you become one, then you can have the money. Otherwise, you can't have the money. I mean, I wish there was a way to get it. I'm thinking of it mechanically. I'm a dumb mechanic in the middle of the desert, so I'm thinking of it. My geography is like, well, then I'm going to hold money over your head until you change your terms to this, and then everyone will. No fight. I don't even got to call people back. They'll just go do it.
Yeah. It's true.
I'm not this guy.
It's true. And I think that's it. It's like, and that's kind of what I started doing with last responders. Like, all right, let's just make some noise, man. Like, let's just start telling people who the hell we are, what we do, and why we exist, and why we're important, why we are.
You know what? This interview we're doing right now, this time just with you and I may not know where to send this so people can watch it, but you do. And this is such an easy way for people to understand it, because you've explained it like you're explaining it to a 3-year-old, you know, and you have. And I understand it. So if people will watch this that need to hear it, they're like, oh, wait, now I get what she's saying. You don't have to go in their office. You don't have to write them a letter. You don't have to go in their office. Just send them a link and go, just watch this, and you'll get what I'm talking about, because you've done a perfect job of explaining it. You really have. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually met a little sort of off topic, but we went to the Gen X comedy tour over the weekend. A girlfriend and I, for my birthday, which is tomorrow. But and I ended up meeting Ruben, who is their tour manager, I guess.
Right.
And we talked for 2 hours, and he was like, I had told him that I was going to do this with you and stuff. And he was like, man, why don't more people know about this? And I said, I don't know, Ruben. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, help me. And he said, he was like, man, it's just crazy. Like, the things you go through and the things you see. And like, you know, as much as it has, like, I don't want to be I'm not a victim. I will never say I'm a victim. Like, yeah, did it mess with my life a little bit? It sure did. But you know what? I'm here. I'm good. Like, you know, it is what it is. Like, but it shouldn't be that way. You know,
you shouldn't have to put up with it, though. Kolleen. No. You should not have to put up with it and go, well, I'll be okay. It's like, well, yeah, I know, but what if the next person won't? What if the next person doesn't handle it like you do? Come on, man. You're fighting for them too, because you don't know who's coming up the chain. You have no idea.
Right. And that's the biggest thing for me, is that's all I want, is just want people to know who we are and understand us as one unit, you know, not coroner, medical examiner, and all the 85 different titles. Like, we are all one. Coroner, medical examiner is literally the same thing. And it's everybody that's under them that does the investigations to find out the cause and manner of death. You know, nobody knows who we are until we knock on their door, till we're the worst nightmare of their life. And then they say, oh my God, I didn't even know you existed. I'm like, yeah, I know, it sucks. But
3 things for me. 1, I want everyone's terminology to be the same. I think it's dumb not to be. Number 2, I want a poster that shows first responders 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want a poster that shows that. And then it should say on the bottom something like complete team or team effort or something.
I love that. And Mark is so funny. Is like, so like I said, I'm a big mouth, right? So I'm a loud mouth. I'll just say things. I don't care. Sometimes it's New York in me, I guess.
A little bit,
a couple months ago, about a month or so ago, I saw a company online, and they were touting that they help first responders and they help their families and they do all these bridge gaps and all these things. And I just commented and said, you're missing an entire industry. And the founder wrote back to me and then called me, and we spoke. And it's Frontline Family Coverage, and it's an insurance company, and they handle, you know, whatever they do, like the beneficiaries of the person. And so they ended up partnering basically with us, and they put out immediately a first responder flyer, and they showed us in the line. And I was like, that's huge, huge. And
Yeah.
I said, even though they're not that big right now, but just the inclusivity of
Don't take that
showing
away
us-
from me. I made that up in my brain right now on the spot while we're talking. I thought of this poster idea. Now you tell me somebody else already did it. That's a little bit of bullshit, Kolleen. Just so you know, I thought of that for you on my own right here live. And now you're like, yeah, someone's already done it. Great. Thanks a lot. Story of my life, man. Far out. Okay, then never mind. How about bumper stickers? Has anyone done a bumper sticker? Can I
No
make
one's
one and
done a
send-
bumper sticker.
All right,
I think
I'm
you should, Mark.
gonna
You
send
should
you a
do
bumper sticker. We're going to put them all over all the police and ambulances and fire trucks and all the cities and go, the first response, we're all first response, 1 through 4.
That's right.
I would have difficulty. Like if you could picture that poster, or I can, and a cop and a fireman and EMS showing up. But what uniform do you, or how do you put that fourth person so people know who it is? That'd be kind of tough.
Frontline put coroner on the back. Coroner seems to be the more common term, coroner or medical examiner, really.
But like what, in a windbreaker? I mean, they gotta.
Well, we wear uniforms. I mean, we were all black, and we have a badge, and we have, some areas we have guns. So it depends. I mean, we look just like a cop, less the bulletproof vest.
You're gonna have to give me something to use for that. Then I'll have my guys do this. And then I'll say, this is what we're going for. And then I will keep sending this back, and you can revise it. Go, no, don't do this. Make it this. If I get something not right that doesn't fit, I want it to fit, and I can make posters and I can make bumper stickers. And then you can tell me, who do you send this to? You're going to tell me you send it to every legislation with a note. Give them a poster and a bumper sticker and go, hey, get the terminology right. Let's start with that.
Yes.
Name them all the same thing. Let them hang it in their office. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud. I'm trying to help.
I love it. I love it. I met with a senator in Wyoming last week, and we talked, and, I just straight up asked him, I said, seriously, like, how hard is it to change the law to include us? Like, I just don't understand. And I know that's my ignorance. I know that I'm not intelligent when it comes to that stuff.
Right.
But what does it take? And he said, it's really not hard at all. And I just looked at him and I said, then why is it 2026 and we're still talking about this?
Well, because of what you said earlier. One of the first things you said just tied into what you just said now. You asked the senator what it would take to have you included. My first question as a senator would have been, well, what are you called? I'll go write it down right now. I'll go include you. What do we call you? I mean,
yes,
that's right back to what you just said. Even a legislator would be like, great. What are you?
What do you want me to write? 85 different titles?
That's
exactly.
right. What do you mean to write down? I'll go do it.
As last responder, I've been pushing for this medical legal death professional, and I've gotten pushback from the people and whoever it's saying, well, it should be medical legal death investigation professional. It should be this. It should be that. And I'm like, let's just make it short and sweet. Medical legal death professional. It's inclusive of all of us. And then under that, we can have our nuances of these are sworn people and these are unsworn and whatever, just like law enforcement does. Law enforcement has unsworn, sworn and unsworn, and that's fine. But let's just get one title.
Part of this is just because I'm a dumb mechanic. My wife would tell you that I'm this way because I'm 12 years old emotionally inside. She says all men quit maturing at 12. But if you had the word investigation in there, right?
Yeah.
Then you're MDIP.
Yep. Thank you. Oh, I love you. I love you. Because that was my thing too. I go, really? Do we want to be
Don't be MDIP. Don't be MDIP. MDIP.
Thank you.
MDIP. No, come on, man.
Thank you. Right.
That just popped into my head. I'm like, I'm visualizing what we're talking about here. I'm like, nah, I'm not MDIP. No one wants to be MDIP.
That is so funny that you say that, because that was so in my heart when people said that. I was like, we can't do that. We can't.
How many times do you hear of stuff like that and you're looking like you guys did not think that through? No, I mean, that happens all the time. Well, I'm not going to be one of those guys. Yeah, someone's going to come along and say, hey, didn't you interview Kolleen, part of that MDIP? Nope. Don't even know who she is. What are you talking about? MDIP? No, I would never.
That is so true. It's so true. It's so funny that you say that specifically, because that has been my thing. And I'm like, I just like MDP, and it just flows. It covers all of us. It covers the autopsy techs that are doing the cuts, that are in there. Yeah. They're the ones exposed to the biological, that sort of biological, we have on the hazards on scene, the drugs and all those things, but all of us are exposed to things, and we should all be covered in some way. You know, we don't need the major, not that there's an adrenaline coverage, you know, but yeah, we're not first responders in the adrenaline sense. But,
you know, if we ever get a campaign going, we got to get sponsored by Purell.
Oh, yeah?
We got to get Purell to go, hey, MDP uses Purell. That's right. And then you hold up the thing. Like, I'm with MDP.
We really do, though. Those are in our office.
That's
what
I'm telling you. That's what we need to sponsor is like, you know, keeping MDP safe across the country. Purell. The official MDP.
I love it.
I don't know. This is probably the weirdest interview you've ever done. I apologize.
Oh, it's probably the weirdest one you've ever done.
Well, you know.
It is, yeah, I know it is. We're a weird group of people, but you know, it's like I remember when I first started doing this, and my mom looked at me and she goes, "You're going to do what?" And I told her, and she goes, "Oh no, baby, you can't do that. You're too empathetic. Like you can't do it." And I was like, "Ma, I got this. I can do it." Yeah, here I am, wishing she was here so I could say you are right.
Well, I wish there was. I got to try to find a way to. My first thing in my head was. Bumper stickers and posters showing something. I mean, a badass picture that people would just like to put it up, even if they had no idea what it was. They're like, "Well, this is wicked cool." I mean, make it that good that people would keep it and put it up. Okay, every place you send those, you have a one paragraph note that has like 4 sentences, and it should say crafted something like, "Hey, everybody in the coroner's office should be listed as MDP and why." That's it. Just the name. Yeah. It's like, just change this so we can all get on the same page. America needs to be on the same page. Everybody in the coroner's office, all the aspects should be part of MDP, and you got to write that down. That's it. And say so they get what's going on. MDP is number 4 on this bumper sticker.
That's
MDP is number, you know, you have NYPD, you have, you know, and New York Fire Department. You keep the acronyms, and this one's got to be this.
New York OM, you know, the Office of the Medical Examiner, New York OMC.
Everybody's just got to be labeled the same. Change it to just a suggestion, so that somebody gets that, puts the bumper sticker on the break room refrigerator, or puts the poster up in the break room. But you got the ball rolling that everybody got this. You know, everybody got the picture, the bumper sticker, and they all understand. Yeah, I get it. It's one puts it in somebody's head. Maybe some of them will catch on.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping. I mean, I started this in, like I said, in 2018, and I never wanted to be the face of it. You know, I never wanted to be, I'm so beyond wanting to talk to anybody. And like, I love talking to people, but like being in front of a group and all that is just not me, you know, but apparently it's not going to happen if I don't keep doing it. So
let's go back to the very beginning. What did you mean you were a lousy speaker? What happened? You just mentioned it again. So come on, tell me the story.
I'm just a terrible speaker. I have always struggled in front of people. I can do one-on-one all day long. And like I said, I met Ruben the other night, and he texted me a little while ago, and he said, "Don't worry about tonight. You're going to be fine. It's one-on-one. Just act like you're in a bar. You can talk to someone for 2 hours. You're good." But you know, last week I was at a conference, and it was the first one for being last responder at the conference. And, you know, I had to speak and get up and tell everybody why I created it, why, you know, what we see happening and what we want. And boy, did my nerves were shot, and I did okay. I mean, it wasn't awful. It wasn't the worst thing in the world.
It's very tough to do.
But I cried like a baby after.
You got to that hotel room and the minibar was emptied.
Weird. It should have been empty before. Maybe I would have done better.
We can have a class on that, on how much you drink right up to the that's tough to do, because the material you want to talk about is very dry, statistical, and uninteresting.
Right.
You have to find a way to make that type of conversation enjoyable, where people listen and laugh and carry on, but they're getting the message too, which is what I'm hoping people get with this.
Right.
Because we've given them all the information here. We have. And it's been fun too. So I think we're going to get people that'll listen that normally wouldn't.
Right.
Just long enough, you know, we're not making it a 3-hour interview. We're keeping it under an hour. It's going to be fun. And you get people like, well, I'll try that. I'm driving around. I'll listen to, well, they got it on our channel. All right, we'll put it in rotation. Let them listen to it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best way.
I can't even tell you how much I appreciate it, because really just that is all I'm after is visibility for the industry, and just trying to shine a light on us and say, look, we're here to, like, just please, like, come on, give us what we really are entitled to. And I hate to use the word entitled, but we really do deserve it. It's not an easy job, and it really can mess with you, and it's doable with the right tools, and that's all. And if we don't even have funding to buy vehicles to transport bodies, or we can't even pay phone bills or computer bill, it's ridiculous. We shouldn't be fighting for funding for things like that. It should be part of it. It's just baffling to me.
Well, I'm going to do what I can. I don't know that I can be effective at all. You saw things popped in my head when we were talking, because if those dumb things could become something that would help, I'm in. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to develop some things and send them to you and go, am I on the right path here? I mean, I don't know what to do with them later, but I really feel I want to do some of those things and work with you on a couple things. And then you tell me what to do next. Like, tell me to send them to every legislature. All right, then, I'll find someone in town to sponsor printing out 1,000 of them. I'll find a way to get some stuff done, even if it takes me a little time, but I want to do this. I want to try to help if I can.
I appreciate that so much. More than you have any idea. So appreciative.
Well, Kolleen, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for taking time out of your day and showing up and doing this. Thank you for explaining this. Thank you for not just blowing me off and going, you're too stupid, you're never going to get it. Thank you for dumbing everything down for me, because it really did help.
No, Kim, I appreciate you more than you know, Mark. More than you know.
All right. Well, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the job you do, because I didn't know exactly what you did until you explained it. And now you're right. I do have you aligned with all those other people at tackling a terrible situation from beginning to end. You just happened to be at the end, and I didn't know that. But I really thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank you for taking time being here. You have been a wonderful guest, Kolleen.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much.
All right, you guys, did you watch? Did you pay attention? I told you not to even get up and go get another drink. That's why I told you in the beginning, get 2 drinks, one in each hand, and sit down. I didn't want you to get up and leave. So if you stayed, thank you very much. Now, you guys, this is one of the interviews that I told you didn't want to skip, but I told you skip the other ones. Don't skip this one. This was important, and we're going to talk to her again. We're going to get the ball rolling on this and see if we can't make a difference. Maybe we can, maybe we can. If you guys have any ideas, email us, genxdad@genxtalks.com, if you have some thoughts or you know somebody. Better yet, if you know somebody in a position to be helpful, let me know. Put me in touch with them and let me see what we can do. Wherever you're listening in from around the planet, thank you guys. Not sure whether you're chiming in AM, FM, Sirius XM, or perhaps you're listening in on the Armed Service Radio Network. Remember 2 things in life. Number 1, wherever you go, there you are. And number 2, I'll catch you on the flip side, because I got to go. We're out.